Check, 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 check. Check, check.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Megan Fenton, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 169, We Shall Overcome, in your gray hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Mike Kemper. Excuse me. And I'm the Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you've been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting us, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. We have some announcements. Okay. In 2 weeks, on February 1st, we'll be having a mid-year congregational meeting after the service. We hope you all can attend. The Board of Trustees would like to thank Hospitality Team 3, led by Joanne Hefner and Leah Nelson, for hosting the coffee hours during the month of December. We have a call for pastries for Reverend Jim's memorial. There's a sign-up sheet in the fellowship hall. The memorial is next Saturday. If you can bring pastries, we'd appreciate it. If you contributed one of the beautiful wreaths that decorated our sanctuary during December, thank you. We have taken down the wreaths and put them on a table in fellowship hall. Please take yours home. Our congregation will be preparing meals for the Emergency Shelter Partnership on Friday and Saturday, January 30th and 31st. Team leaders will organize small groups to meet at the congregation to prepare a hot dinner, a bagged lunch and breakfast, and deliver them to a hosting church in Ossining. There are also opportunities to help from your home or contribute individually. The cost of the food will be covered by our Share the Plate program. Please sign up during coffee hour or contact Terry Lucan to volunteer. For the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And if you would like a copy of the e-news, please fill this out. Please join us for conversation after the service. If you are present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. Oh, if you were just joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uucrotonemail.com with your name, or fill out a yellow welcome card in the pew, and we will make sure you are added to our e-news list. Also, please remember to silence your cell phones at this time. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Good morning. Good morning. It's really good to see you. And for you online, I hope you are safe. I hope that you are finding nourishment in this gathering. Whether you are in the third pew or watching at home, we are part of one gathered community. And we are doing something that next time you come to church, I will make sure you get a copy of, the Constitution of the United States. We are doing something protected under the First Amendment to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We are doing something that is older than the United States of America, which is gathering for our values in community. We are part of a tradition that has survived and thrived and resisted under communist governments, monarchies, corrupt republics, and so many different forms in history. And we are part of an unfolding and ongoing story. This is Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday, a time when congregations of all types across this country are reflecting on who we are connected to, and what our obligations are to one another. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one of us directly affects all of us indirectly." injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so we gather in joy and in kindness and in determination and the small graces of helping shovel on a snowy day. The work of ritual, meditation, prayer, habits, actions, compassion, that is why we gather, inspired by love. Aka Nivana, who is an Inuit poet from Greenland, wrote a few years ago during the pandemic, the question is, will it be eternal division or together we stand? And I've come back to her words several times. Dr. King said, we are all connected. And whether you are at home or in this space, this morning we are connected in the work of love. I invite the children of this congregation to head to the bell tower of our sanctuary. I asked Sherry Brown to join them today as a surprise because the wonderful Jane Podell is joining us online. All right, headed to the bell tower. May that bell remind us we are tied in a single garment of destiny. It is good to be with you.
Today's chalice lighting is from Steve Abbott. The time has come, we must defend our dream, proclaim this as what is best in us. Where would we be without our variant love? The world would shrivel and die. Without surprise, boredom would be the sole master of space, and summer joys would perish under constant snow. Now please join me in our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice.
Would you join in our songs of praise in English and Spanish? The words are in your program, but also in your hymnal. Songs of praise. Please join me in a responsive reading, number 584, in your gray hymnal. I will read the words in standard type, and we will all read the italicized words together. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love.
Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
I want to send special greetings to Kay and Laura, who are joining online with us because of the snow. And to all of those who are discerning right now who we are called to be. We won't have a new member ceremony today. We're going to save the grand rituals for a different day. But we will have a moment of calm and meditation and centering, and then we'll hear beautiful music from our choir. I invite you into a moment of pause. The teacher Thich Nhat Hanh says that breath is a habit and a practice. I'll invite us into a breathing exercise, just 5 echoes, to call us to our center and to greater compassion. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I feel the full length of my in-breath. Breathing out, I feel the whole length of my out-breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Even in the hard times, this is a beautiful moment. We honor what is sacred in our tradition in many words, through ritual, through readings, through contemplation, and also through the gift of song. Our choir will bring an offering this morning, Like a Mighty Stream.
I do not know if the children are leaving the sanctuary today, but we will sing Go Now in Peace anyway. So please join us in number 413, Go Now in Peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere you may go.
Any children or children in spirit who would like to go with Chris? We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this week has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward to light a candle and to briefly tell us of your joy or sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys and sorrows, and we will light a candle for you. Please remember that your joys and sorrows are being shared on the live stream and with the broader virtual community.
I'm Jim Russell. It was a joy last night to be here in the snowstorm and with the companionship of so many people. We had 40 people for the super duper soup and game night. It was a lot of fun, and the membership committee deserves a lot of credit for putting it on, but especially Tom Glickman and Emily Kluge, as well as Lindy and Felix. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Clayton, and I am here to announce the arrival of my new grandniece, Isabella Wanjuri Mungai, AZ. And she took a little time to get out of the hospital because she was really teeny, but she's small and mighty. And so now I'm a great aunt, so I think I need to wear hats and scarves. We also have 2 weddings in the 2026 coming up for the next generation. Not my kids, thankfully, but my nephew and my niece on the other side. So it's kind of, those are exciting announcements.
Good morning. Another joy candle. Isn't that great? I'm Betsy Cates. Thursday night. All I can say is, I don't have words. The Elks Lodge in Ossining has something called the Organ Groove. It's been put on by John Codman, who's an amazing person in Ossining and single-handedly has kept this thing going for decades. And I haven't been for decades, and we were compelled to come and hear Alex play, but we had no idea what was going to happen that night. It was indescribably stellar. It was so amazing. Alex and his 2 fellow instrumentalists, but the vocalist, and you're going to have to help me with her last name because I'm blanking, Emily Braden. I can't even. It was the most magical night, full of just the most incredible community joy. I forgot to bring cash. Someone unhesitatingly lent me $20 so we could at least tip the band. And then another total stranger guided us out of the parking lot in about 40 different steps. She was running from one side of my car to the other, back and forth. And just like there was this energy and synergy and beauty of the community of musicians and shared awe over this music in Ossining in the Elks Lodge. It's amazing. Go if you can. Oh, there were a lot of UUs there that night. Yeah. What? It was very cool.
That's my manager, everybody. Hi, I'm Mike. My pronouns are he, him. We have some incredible joy. Our oldest son, Adam, who has been ill since June, has made pretty much a complete recovery. On Tuesday, he's going back to work for the first time since September. He's a New York City school teacher. He has missed his kids so much. And the fact that he's going back, it's been a real roller coaster, and we are just so thrilled. The other joy has a little bit of sorrow. Our youngest son, Sam, has about 6 hours to go before he lands in Sydney, Australia, where he's going to be finishing his undergrad and getting his master's degree. He's going to be there for another 4.5 years. When you encourage them to fly, you don't think they're going to fly that far away. So we are thrilled for him, but we also have a little bit of sorrow. We're going to miss him a lot. Thank you.
Hi, Chuck Morrissey. Just a quick word of thanks for being back singing with the choir after quite a few years being out. I'm usually in Florida at this point, but I'm happy to be here and shovel a little snow. On a slightly more somber note, but upbeat, I am being followed these days for a rather pernicious cancer, but the news is good, and so I'll be visiting dermatologists on a 4 times a year basis for the next couple of years. So, fingers crossed.
Hi, I'm Ginny Stillman, and I had the joy this past week of having my 2 grandchildren from Norfolk, Virginia drive up. They're 18 and 20, and they're both drivers, and they came up to spend 2 days while they're still on their school break. And we just had the greatest time getting to know them a little bit better. And, you know, one of the things I just loved was after every meal, they would jump up from the table, clear the table, the dishes, and wash them and put them in the dishwasher. My son must have done, and his wife did a good job raising them. So that was a real joy. And they also loved going out to T-Town for a walk, a hike in the woods. They were campers there when they were like 6 and 8 or something many years ago. That's what they really wanted to do, was hike in the woods. So we get into the woods, and sure enough, there's a little vernal pool with ice on it, but there's water around the edges, you know. And what do kids want to do? What do they want to do? They want to walk on the ice and just test the waters, you know. So that's what they did. But fortunately, the ice was strong enough to hold them. Anyway. And the other joy, I was at a rally yesterday up at Beach Shopping Center where there were over 125 people who showed up to demonstrate against what's happening in this country. So.
So I'm Maddie. I want you all to join me in holding a dear friend, Eileen, who has had such a hard journey with dementia, and she's in her last hours. And so the sorrow of losing her is with me, but the joy of Eileen and I are in a support group, a spiritual circle of women, and we were able to convince the people on her floor at Phelps, the nursing staff, to allow us to have a prayer circle and a service of joy for her, with her, at her hospital bed. And we sang and we read beautiful pieces of poetry and biblical references, and looking around the circle in each of our eyes, it was a moment where we could see the joy in being together and being able to have this connection with sorrow and joy at the same time. So it was a moment I'll never forget. And Eileen was with us in a way that let us know that she was, it was aware of what was going on. So thank you.
I'm Monica. I want to thank Reverend Daniel for sticking around in the snow yesterday to officiate Justin and my little elopement that we did.
We light one final candle for those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed, and for all those who are still searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and to be received with love.
Precious Lord, Take My Hand was Dr. King's favorite hymn. And it was one that brought him a lot of comfort through all those difficulties and joys. Now is the time in our service for a moment of centering, prayer, pause, contemplation. Spirit of life and love, bigger than the universe, smaller than a grain of sand, present in every snowflake, be with us this day as we seek wisdom as to how to be the better version of ourselves in a world that seems to be moving so fast. Let us be present to one another in the profound joys and deep aches in our lives. And let us be curious and committed to encountering and seeing those joys and sorrows all around us in this wider world. Help us to remember that we are tied in a single garment of destiny. May it be so. Reverend Jim Covington, whose celebration of life will be honoring next week, next Saturday, said about 20 years ago from this pulpit, when things are falling apart, we need to express our faith that death and destruction will not have the final word. And when I saw that quote, it was like lightning. And I think particularly at this time of year where we encounter the life and struggles of the King family, Martin and Coretta and their children and their wider family, to enact and push and pull America into a better version of itself, and the tremendous cost that that family paid for that struggle. We have to remind ourselves that death and destruction don't have the final word. That beautiful reading that Megan offered said, Dr. King said, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This has been a beautiful week and a profoundly painful week. I know of so many people across the country who have gone to vigils to protest the violence that is taking place in our country, the actions of immigration and customs enforcement officers in Minneapolis. I know individuals here locally who have gone to vigils in Peekskill to try to protest against the violations of Damar Fields, who is an unarmed man who was known by police to have emotional disabilities but was involved in a traumatic encounter at Waterfront Park. I know people who have held vigils for the over 32 people who died in ICE custody last year. And I know clergy, good friends, who will be going to Minneapolis this week to join large-scale clergy protests, which will be happening Thursday. And I know so many people who are holding hopes and fears and angers and uncertainty about so much that is happening internationally, from the Caribbean to the Persian Gulf to Greenland, to people hoping for freedom in Iran, for people hoping for justice in Venezuela, for people hoping for peace between the United States and Greenland. And I know people deeply fearful because there was a synagogue burning in Jackson, Mississippi, and a local zoning board banned a mosque in Oklahoma. Dr. King said, we're all tied together. All these individual struggles, all these local manifestations of pain and suffering are part of a larger movement, either toward love or injustice. Coretta Scott King, in 1968, in the awful aftermath of her husband's assassination, spoke to the graduating class of Harvard when she was 41 years old and said this: human personality and values are worth fighting for. We are a nation that appears incomparable in wealth and power, but impoverished spiritually and psychologically. Our activities generate a bewildering array of material goods and yet no satisfaction. Our machines have grown so large and we have become so small. We no longer ask for what purpose they are made. Instead of a flowering of personality, with the decrease in heavy labor, there is a loss of identity and a growth of alienation. She said, my husband frequently warned us of a trend toward thingification, a thing-centered rather than a person-centered society. She ended her talk with this plea, affirmation, to say that in struggling to give meaning to your own lives, you are preserving the best in our traditions and are breaking new ground in your restless search for truth. With this creative force to inspire all of us, we may yet not only survive, but triumph In struggling to give meaning to your own lives, you are preserving the best in our traditions and are breaking new ground in your restless struggle for truth. With this creative force to inspire all of us, we may not yet only survive, we may triumph. At certain moments, Dr. King reflected that his wife, Coretta, was more radical than him. She was more active in politics as a student. He was a little more, he enjoyed music a lot, but she was deeply active in movement. And she was active for decolonization and work for peace, even in her teens. And he felt that she pushed him to speak more globally and not just look at the injustices in the US, but what was happening in the wider world. And it's important to remember how young these individuals were who we honor today. Dr. King would be 97 years old this year. He was only 39 when he was assassinated. He was 26 years old when he was a spokesperson for the Montgomery bus boycott movement. And part of how the story is told is the fault of the white press that really didn't understand what was happening. But King was chosen to be a spokesperson by a gathered movement. And many of the organizers were women like Joanne Robinson, who was an academic in Montgomery, who was trying to mobilize the wider community. And at a gathering of clergy in Montgomery, at the dawn of this transformative civil rights movement, they were trying to find a preacher to galvanize the crowd. And King was the youngest and had been in his pulpit the shortest, and everyone else said no. And then they said, "You can do it." And that was the beginning of this transformative public figure that the white press saw and said, "Who is that?" But he was a product of a movement of people. And he always said that. The people created that march for freedom in the middle of the 20th century. His preaching style especially when he was younger, often would involve these playful retelling of Jewish and Christian stories. One sermon he gave often when he was on the road was called Paul's Letter to American Christians. And he began it this way. He said, "It is miraculous that the Apostle Paul should be writing a letter to you and me nearly 1900 years after his last letter appeared in the New Testament. How this is possible is something of an enigma. The important thing, however, is that I can imagine the Apostle Paul writing a letter to American Christians in Anno Domini 1956. And a selection from the letter said, "You can do so many things in your day that I could not do in the Greco-Roman world of my day. In your age, you can travel distances in one day that it took me 3 months to travel. That is wonderful. You have made tremendous strides in the area of scientific and technological development. But America, as I look at you from afar, I wonder whether your moral and spiritual progress has been commensurate with your scientific progress. Your poet Thoreau used to talk about improved means to an unimproved end. How often this is true. You have allowed your mentality to outrun your morality, and you have allowed your civilization to outdistance your culture. And through your scientific genius, you have made the world a neighborhood, but you failed to make it a brotherhood. And so, America, I would urge you to bring your moral advances in line with your scientific advances." And then a few years later, in this vein, King spoke to the houses of worship in the United States. And he said, "I must make confession to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. I must confess that over the last few years, I have been greatly disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the black American's great stumbling block is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klan, but to those more devoted to order than to justice, who prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels that one can set a timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is more bewildering than outright rejection. And then a few years later, towards the end of his life, King defied the US government and spoke out against the war in Vietnam. And in the retellings of that period, we would say, well, of course Dr. King would speak out against that. He was a voice for peace. But in doing so, he was rejecting the leaders of the Democratic Party who had just passed the Voting Rights and Civil Rights Act. And he was saying, you can do one good thing, but I'm not just about your party. I'm about issues. I'm about morality. I'm about transformation. And he made that speech in large part because Coretta pushed him. She was asking for years for him to do more for international peace. At the conclusion of that speech against the war in Vietnam, he said, we still have a choice: nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. We must move past indecision to action. We must find new ways to speak for peace in Vietnam and justice throughout the developing world, a world that borders on our doors. If we do not act, we shall surely be dragged down the long, shameful corridors of time reserved for those who possess power without compassion, might without morality, and strength without sight. Now let us begin. When I think about this holiday and what it might mean for us in a country with so much upheaval and distrust and alienation, I recall that in King's life, he was often vilified and mocked and called a lunatic and a communist. Today, everyone in the American political spectrum says, we affirm the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. But if you read his sermons, if you read Coretta's essay, if you look at the movement for change that nurtured and supported Dr. King and Coretta and so many leaders from that period, they wanted an America with dignity, with jobs, and with freedom. And they didn't actually want that just for America. They wanted it for the world. And they knew it wouldn't be done in 1 year, or with one law, or with one president. They were committed to cultures of long-haul work and transformation. Reverend Jim Covington, in that same sermon where he asked us to remember that death and destruction don't have the final word, said this: no matter how inconsequential our everyday actions may be to us, they matter to someone, somewhere, somehow. It matters whether we smile or buy this product, or support this policy, or agree or disagree, or call or write, or help or hope or love or forgive. Everything matters. Everything matters. So as we gather in 2026 on a snowy day in Croton-on-Hudson, not far from the largest city in North America, in a country remarkably divided, remarkably violent, we have to think about how we respond to that question Dr. King said. Are we for nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation? Are we more dedicated to order or to justice? And will we nurture spaces and relationships that allow us to be in proximity and to begin again? Because while our building turns 100 years old this year, the Republic turns 250. And if we'd like it to turn 500, we need to begin again. And spaces like this all over the country are working to nurture those values of love, kindness, and compassion. And when we fall short, we begin again. May we be companions on the journey and honor those who came before us. May it be so.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will be shared with PrideWorks. The annual conference for LGBTQ+ youth and their allies is held every spring in Westchester County, New York. Their next event is March 25th, 2026. For more information, please visit prideworks.com. Please refer to your e-newsletter or website for more information. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you may make a donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter or by visiting our website, uuchudsonvalley.org. Or if you prefer, you may always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this, sorry. We're not doing that yet. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please join me in singing our final hymn, number 1021, Lean on Me in Your Teal Hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
May we remember to focus in this uncertain moment on the morality that we hold and the choices we can make. And may we act in love. Go in peace.
Okay, now we're going to extinguish the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
My friend Tony Jefferson was going to sing for us today, but he couldn't make it in the snow, so I'm going to still do